Brooklyn Independent Television.
I'm Zach Brock. This is Fred Kennedy. This is Matt Wigton, and we have a band called The Magic Number. I'm a violinist. I primarily play jazz music. I would say kind of, modern or contemporary jazz. I grew up with a lot of classical music and also a fair amount of folk music growing up in Kentucky and stuff like that. Went on to college, did a classical degree, lived in Chicago for a while. I didn't start actually writing music until I was in a band in Chicago where the band leader told me that if I didn't write my own tunes, I wasn't allowed to be in the band. I've been playing with Matt since about 2002. We were in a thing called Betty Carter's Jazz Ahead. It's like a scholarship program. When I moved to New York, I started playing with Fred, and we would go up to his apartment. Fred had this huge apartment that had kind of a hallowed jazz lineage of Ralph Alessi and Ravi Coltrane, and a lot of people living in this place. There's a lot of space to rehearse, and we got to work on a lot of music, and I got to meet a lot of people that way. I got into a lot of stuff when I was a teenager, rock and roll, punk rock, reggae, pretty much everything. I think every jazz musician I know, for the most part, is somewhat omnivorous when it comes to music. We don't really just lock ourselves in a room and only say, I'm just going to listen to jazz. We sort of listen to what's going on next door right now, for instance. And I have this band with two people with very strong musical personalities and directions. They're both leaders and producers in their own right.
My experience playing this project is great. It's very, very free. One of the nice things about playing with these guys in particular is because we've known each other for so long and we have such a good chemistry just as friends, that sort of translates into the music, where we have these structures and everything that we use for improvising. Tunes that we know, but at the same time we can really just, if we want to sort of take the conversation in this direction, then we can do that. And there's sort of usually, no judgment sometimes, but that can be fun too.
I think actually all three of us would consider ourselves maybe composers first in a way. When we work with this band, we're always thinking about developing the music and pushing it into different directions constantly. And for me, that's an excitement that some bands don't give me. So with this band, there's kind of this evolution that continues to grow and move and change and morph. And my compositional appetite is satisfied with this group.
Fred and Matt are both really masters of their instruments, so they can approach it from a lot of different ways, extended techniques, maybe classical musicians call it, or, there's a lot of different ways that you can get a sound out of something, whether it's producing a pitch or whether it's producing less of a pitch and more of a percussive sound, whatever. So I have no idea what Fred was doing over there, honestly. I think there was a slide whistle involved.
Blowing into a coffee cup?
Blowing into a coffee cup. There was just some heavy breathing on the microphone at one point. Matt will do things like attach rubber clothespins to his bass strings, or he'll just start hitting his bass as hard as he can sometimes. The stuff that I do is pretty standard. Sometimes I'll do some more sort of tonal effects with the bow, where I'm not producing what you would call like maybe a pure classical or fundamental tone, but getting to produce overtones and more sort of scrapey, distorted sounds. Sometimes you can combine that with the electronics, different pizzicato things. That's kind of what we were doing, and just going crazy with the pedals. We did a Kickstarter fundraising thing, whatever, campaign, and we raised the money to do the record. I'd been working on some new tunes and these arrangements that we did for the record. We got together at Fred's place and rehearsed, really hard. And then we did the recording right here in Prospect Heights, where we are right now, Prospect Heights, Brooklyn, at Acoustic Recording, the great engineer named Michael Brorby, just right up the street. That was just incredible experience. I love living in Brooklyn. It has a lot of energy, so whenever I go out on the road, I start to miss it after a while, even though that's its own kind of energy, but you're kind of putting energy out. I definitely feel like when I come back home to Brooklyn that I can relax, but still I wake up every day just really motivated by the amazing stuff that's going on around me, because there's so much creativity and there's so much happening. People are doing so much, so I love living here.
Watch this and other Brooklyn Independent Television episodes online at bricartsmedia.org/BIT.